To the Chicago Bears, their needs look like this. They need D-line, O-line, wide receiver. They have picks 39, 48, so on and so forth. They obviously traded up last year to get their quarterback, their franchise quarterback in Justin Fields. So they're without a first-round pick. So their first pick comes at 39. AJ, we'll start this one off with you, buddy. Who do the
Okay.
Chicago Bears need to get in this year's draft?
So you remember on Monday you asked us to start going deep, in this draft. I think this is I went round three. I didn't go too deep. I went round three. But this is a team. I finally got a wide receiver, and I'm gonna give these guys David Bell out of Purdue. Round three, pick 71. So listen, David Bell, and there's so many people who are split on this guy as well because he's got the talent. He's rarely stopped after first contact. He's got great hands, was one of the best contested catchers in the nation last year, and just went boss for Purdue. He was the only receiver they had. Everybody knew it, and they still couldn't stop him. 11 catch. He had 4 games of 11 plus catches, multiple games with over 200 yards to go. This guy is going to be a good player in a few years. His speed kind of worries me. His separation kind of worries me. And the way that he expects to do everything out of the catch. And he does the little things that are kind of undisciplined. You have a route and he's adding moves into it to shake off the defender. I get that when you're trying to get open, but not at the start of the route. So there's some things he needs to refine. But for Justin Fields to have a target that can go up and get it, when you've already got quick guys like Byron Pringle and Darnell Mooney, you need a high point guy. You need a go up and get it guy, a red zone threat, and David Bell can be that. So I like him for Chicago in round 3. If you miss, you probably did something somewhere else anyways.
I hope David Bell turns out to be a really good player. I really do. I really like him. You talked about the lack of detail and stuff in his routes. He's just sloppy. His technique is just sloppy. But for such a sloppy player, he produced like Rashad Bateman style numbers from Minnesota, but he's just not as refined as that. So I really like him if he can get to a spot where they can work with him and kind of mold him. Good play action guy and go up and get the ball. That's a good pick there. For me, this is hard because I don't know if round 2, pick 39, this guy's going to be there. I'm going to be honest. I don't think he's going to be there. If I'm a team, I'm taking him in the middle of the first round. And the more I watch this guy, the more I like him. It's another receiver, which I think the Bears need weapons for Justin Fields. And I mentioned him earlier. It's Christian Watson. Christian Watson is a guy who is he doesn't have the numbers, right? He's only 800 yards last year, 43 catches. He's battled through some injuries. I think he is arguably the best playmaker at the wide receiver position in this draft. His size, I mean, you're talking about a guy who's 6'4", 200 pounds, and he can take the top off of the defense, really like nobody else in this draft. He's got hands, he's fast, he has playmaking, he's dynamic, and his confidence, he believes in himself. And to me, this is what the wide receiver position is about. As a guy who played a little wide receiver, I'm lining up and I'm going to beat that guy on the other side. I think Christian Watson, and you know what? I'm just going to go out on a limb right now. Christian Watson is going to be the best receiver in this draft. He's not the most refined right now. He's not the most ready to come out right now. I hope he goes to a spot where he's allowed to excel. I think of any of the receivers, his build, his ability, he has the chance to be special, like special. And I'm going to call it right now. I think Christian Watson ends up being the best receiver in this draft. And if the Bears can get him in the second round, and all I've seen is keep moving up and up and up. I think Mel Kiper switched him to first round pick today. They're going to be happy with that. And Justin Fields will have a nice weapon to go to. So yeah, give me some Christian Watson.
I like it. I like the wide receiver picks. Bailey also likes the wide receiver picks here. Our chat is absolutely buzzing tonight. We appreciate everyone tuning in. If you're watching this clip on YouTube, we appreciate it, but really join us live on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for our live shows at 8 p.m. Eastern time right here on YouTube. It is quite the time. But Bailey agrees with you that they need to go wide receiver. Kneecap Jeremy, on the other hand, is going my route, saying that you got to give Justin Fields time to throw. And similar to whether or not your guy is going to be there, Aaron, here, I don't know if my guy falls this low to Chicago Bears, but if he does, I am scooping him up. It's Zion Johnson, offensive lineman from Boston College. This guy is a mauler. I feel like that's just a common thing to say for some of these top offensive line prospects in this draft. He's got great technique, great hands. He's had a full season at left guard, 2 years. He played left tackle. This guy can do it all. Maybe not really an NFL left tackle, but at the guard position, he was one of the top players during the Senior Bowl. He's very consistent. This guy he's got everything. He's got everything, and I worry that he's not going to be here for the Bears. But if he is, please scoop him up. But there's a lot of offensive line talent in this draft. So I do see, and with all the wide receivers in the first round, Zion Johnson could be one of those guys who falls out of day one, and you're like, you see him right at the top of your boards, and he's there for Chicago to scoop him up for day two. Zion Johnson, offensive line, Boston College, protect your franchise quarterback.
I like it.
Perfect fit. It's actually a perfect fit. The Bears like to run that zone run scheme. Zion Johnson fits that really well. I believe he can be a starting guard in the NFL. And when you're talking about offensive linemen, you don't get to see the dynamic kind of playmaking ability, right? So it's hard to kind of gauge these guys. But then when you look back at them like 10 years later and you see they've been a starting right guard in the NFL for 10 to 12 years, you know they've done something right. They've been able to establish themselves. This is a guy that can do that. He's got really good pad level. He's patient. He can move really well laterally. He's got mobility. He tracks really well, getting to the second level, being able to use his power at the second level against linebackers on those double team blocks and then shedding off. I like him. I think his quickness and his balance is really good. And this is a guy that might end up sneaking into the late first round if he keeps trending that way. So if you can get a guy like that at 39 or the second round or wherever you had him, then that's a win for Chicago. And you're definitely right. Offensive line, you got to block. You got to protect your franchise quarterback. We mentioned this with Jacksonville. We've talked about it with the Jets and all these other young quarterbacks. If you do not protect your franchise guy, then you wasted a first-round pick on that quarterback because then they're just going to be dead in 2 years or whatever it is.
And even if it's not like your number one priority, maybe offensive line is your second or third priority. That automatically goes up if you have a franchise quarterback that you have to protect, like a Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence or a Zach Wilson, like we've talked about before. That priority goes up so much higher to make sure that you're protecting your guy in Justin Fields in this case. Let's move on to our final team.
I got a question. I got a question about Chicago because we have. You brought up the draft picks. They don't have a lot. They moved up to get Justin Fields. We haven't spent much time. I mean, I felt like we've talked about the Jets a lot with their, future in Zach Wilson. We talked about the Jaguars. Where are we at with the Bears? Like what the Bears don't have a lot of assets right now. They haven't done a whole lot in free agency. Obviously, bringing in a new regime, Ryan Pace and them are gone. It's a new era in Chicago, and they think they have their guy in Justin Fields. How important? For me, it's super important that they hit on a number of these picks. Like I know they only have 5, maybe 6. To me, those first 3 picks, 39, 48, and 71 are huge for them. They're going to need guys that come in and contribute and start to build for the next 2 or 3 years because it's extremely important that Justin Fields takes the next step. I don't know where you guys are at with that.
I think it's definitely huge, especially if you don't have a first round pick to continue to build these franchise pieces around in this team. I was thinking, and once you brought this question up, I was like, oh, let me look and see who where the rest of their picks are. They have 2 second round picks. Would it be a surprise if they traded back into the first round? Maybe a late first round pick. You package both those second round picks and maybe a mid to late round pick in this year or next year's draft. Would it be that crazy to think that Chicago does that?
I don't think they can afford to be giving away any picks for, especially with this new regime coming in, and maybe they feel like they have something to prove, right? What was the first thing Ryan Pace and them did? They came in, made a big splash, got Mitchell Trubisky, and screwed it all up. You don't follow the footsteps of the guys who failed before you, in my opinion. So I don't know if they would trade up, but I do agree it's very important that they hit on these picks. And I think they need to know what they need to do going forward. And like you said, that's protecting Justin Fields, and that's getting him some new toys. And they did a little bit of that with just Byron Pringle. That's not crazy, but that's one extra weapon that he didn't have last year. So other than that, I'm on wait and see with the Bears. It's a brand new squad, brand new front office and everything. Let's see what they can do. I don't put much stock in them being great, but I know they ain't gonna be as bad as Matt Nagy had them. So
Are you saying that? Are you saying that Allen Robinson wasn't a weapon last year?
That's exactly what I'm saying. It was not a weapon last year.
That's more of a shot at this guy right here.
Oh, I know. I'm just helping you back it up. Who would ever think that he was a weapon last year?
I didn't say he was a weapon last year.
You know what's funny is
not that far.
There were rumors. There's rumors out there that Matt Nagy and them phased him out of the offense, like on purpose, and which is bizarre to me because you got a rookie quarterback with one of the better receivers in football. Let's be honest, Allen Robinson has been really good. And you decide to phase that guy out of the offense? Like they weren't going to him. The offense looked different, and this is the reason why you find yourself without a job. And it's bizarre. It's bizarre.
Weren't they trying to devalue him so they could pay him when
they can re-sign him? He was never coming back, though.
I know that. But last year, and I know completely different players, Aaron Rodgers was never going to play another game, and now he's linked up for another 4 years. You know,
see the Rams didn't buy it, right? Because they still gave him $15 million a year. The Rams didn't buy that Allen Robinson's just no longer good. They just said, you know what? Not a great situation. We can take advantage of that. We saw what we did with Odell. I just
we've already had Brandon Cook, so we can't go that route again.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he definitely would because he's much better.
Exactly. I mean, the addition of Byron Pringle's nice. Byron Pringle played well with Patrick Mahomes. We'll see if he can keep trending in the right direction with a younger quarterback who might not be who is not Patrick Mahomes. Let's just say I was saying might not be, but yeah, he's not Patrick Mahomes. So it'll be interesting on that side of the ball. They definitely need to add some weapons.